it tries to explore themes from Superman. It's trying to piggyback off of them, but it has no execution. It refuses to define terms. It cannot keep focused. It's like the dog from Up. It's Doug from Up, right? Squirrel.
What I was just thinking is Kara needs Jesus, right? She has a heavy heart. That's why she's drinking. So it made me think of Matthew 11. You know, Jesus says, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest."
In a world where entertainment is viewed as mindless diversion, only good for momentary distraction, you are about to enter a new world, and you will never view entertainment in the same way again. This is Popcorn Theology.
Welcome, movie lovers and theology nerds, to Popcorn Theology, where we examine film for where it aligns with the greatest story and greatest storyteller of all, discussing what to receive, reject, redeem for fruitful conversation and mindful movie consumption. I'm Miles.
And I'm Jam.
And we're looking... Go for it, man. We're all thrown off.
We're looking at Supergirl. It's directed by Craig Gillespie, and it stars Millie Alcock, David Cornsweet, and Eve Ridley. And this is a part of James Gunn's reimagined DC universe.
Yep, and the plot of this movie, well, is about as organized as our introduction was here today. We're throwing this on. We're looking at Kara Zor-El, Supergirl. So while on a drunken bender to celebrate her birthday, Kara, a.k.a. Supergirl, finds herself with a moral decision. Save crypto and help Ruthie avenge her family, or walk away and lose the last piece of Kryptonian morality that she may or may not have. And so, well, we judge these movies based on their popcorn, movie content, and their theology, the richness of conversation. And so to dive in as a movie, if this is a bag of popcorn, we say, is it stale, fresh, or buttered and salted? Can't get enough of it. And I'm going to go with stale with maybe a few fresh bites, maybe. But I'm a little sad about this. It's disappointing to me. But there's good stuff in this movie. The good stuff is Millie was fine. She did good with what she had. The visuals, there were a couple shots that were just amazing, where you go, oh, wow, this was computer generated. This looks like a ship falling into the water. You know? The aliens, I was thinking there's actually a lot of this that kind of felt like it might have been to watch Star Wars for the first time if we didn't have all that background. There was some really interesting kind of world-building stuff they threw you in.
Yep.
The fights were good. They were cut kind of like one shot. They were creative. There's also good vibes. It's just like the movie, that's actually kind of seems to be what they were going from, is kind of vibe moment to vibe moment without much good connection. So I'm trying to say there's good in there. The bad, it was disconnected, cliched, strange, a narrative mess, and I'm not sure exactly what it's saying about its themes. It made Superman a little bit worse in retrospect, given its commentary on Superman from last year. It's just was a disappointment for me. And I wonder, how do you feel about it, Jam?
Yeah, no, there are no good bits in it for me. That's a no for me, dog. No, it's stale. It's okay. To not be a negative Nancy, the practical effects were pretty cool. You're right in talking about like the Star Wars aspect of it, where the practical effects look pretty cool. I honestly think the Superman scenes were probably the best scenes throughout the film. Just because it was cool to see him come back in it. And I think it's so funny that they say he's a star in this film, because he's really not in it a whole lot.
Nah.
But so those would be the good aspects of it. I think they're like her backstory where they get into it. That's the best part of the film. The bad, oh my goodness. You're right. It's disconnected. It's cliched. It's a narrative mess. I think it is extremely impersonal. I could not for the life of me find myself in the shoes of a single character, or even have any sympathy towards any of the characters in the movie, because they completely and totally fail to set up any link between the audience and the viewer. So, and then I'm just going to pick on one of your goods. I thought the fights were awful. Awful.
I liked them.
I thought they were awful. There's one part in particular where they're in that bar, and you see it from Ruthie's perspective. and this is the moment where she should be like full glory, and you only see her fighting in the background. And I think that would have been the perfect time to see her in her full glory in the bar fight, but you don't see it. It's just a blur. I was talking with my wife about it. It's very similar to the first Transformers movie. I remember being enamored with that first Transformers movie, Shia LaBeouf. But the biggest thing I came away with from that film is you just can't see any of the action actually taking place. Some of that, like you can see the big clunky, machine parts rolling around and explosions all over the place. But some of it's just the practical, like they make the Autobots and the Decepticons so impersonal because you just don't see their faces when fighting's happening. And that's exactly how the combat is within this movie.
That's interesting because like the best shot for me in Transformers 1 is when they're on the highway and it slows down and you see that tackle of Optimus. And that's why it's in the trailers and memorable. But you're right. The rest of it is...
just blurs all over the place.
It's like somebody threw some steel wool at the camera.
That's exactly how this film is too, with all of its action, except for that last battle. You get to see a little bit more of her, but outside of that, everything's just a blur on the screen.
Yeah, it was just rough. And I watched this movie a week ago, and it has let it sit. It got slightly better in my memory, slightly, but I'm just pretty disappointed as a movie. And then sometimes a movie is not great, and the theological discussion will really rescue it because it's got some rich ideas. But here's the thing: when we judge it as a theology movie, as a theological soda, is it diluted, carbonated, or my cup runneth over? I'd say barely carbonated, just because it has moments that it didn't earn. It's like castles floating in the air of concepts that they bring up that are poorly explored, half-baked themes, but there's stuff to talk about a little bit, but I don't think the movie's even going to be rescued for me in that one. But I like it. Explores a few themes from Superman. Be worth bringing back because I loved Superman from last year. And then introduces a few interesting ideas. And for what it's worth, not particularly preachy.
No, it's not, yeah.
But I don't think it's because they didn't want to preach. I think it's because they didn't tell a story well enough to preach about anything.
Right.
But
yeah.
Go ahead, man. What are you thinking?
It's diluted. It's like a bottle of soda that you leave in the car to just bake and get really hot, and then you have nothing better to drink but that hot soda. It's just that's where I'm at with this, man. Like it tries to explore themes from Superman. It's trying to piggyback off of them, but it has no execution. It refuses to define terms. It's so narratively weak. It cannot keep focus. It's like the dog from Up. It's Doug from Up, right? Squirrel.
Yeah.
And it just goes all over the place. So
because it brings up discussions of goodness. It brings up discussions of justice and revenge. It brings up discussion of what to deal with wicked piracy. It brings up discussions of characters who, whether you retreat from your calling or not, but it's just none of it's baked particularly well.
I don't know that discussion is the right word. I think it's like a flash. It's almost like a flash grenade, right? It's just throwing it out there and then just kind of seeing what happens with it. Like you think of the game of jacks, like you've got all those jacks, you throw them and then you hit the ball, and essentially it threw out all of the jacks on the ground, and now the audience is the one that's just kind of trying to figure out, okay, where are you landing here? Where are you landing there? So like you're hitting things that are in the film, but they don't really breathe life into any of those things. It's just kind of like, here it is.
It's so strange because it's a full movie.
It is. Yep.
And
it's a small cast. It's not as if it's like an Avengers movie where it's got tons of cast members. And it's like, well, you can't realistically. It's a small cast, and even with it being a small cast, it's just a flash grenade. Just figure it out, see what you can do.
Yeah. So we're disappointed. I hope you'll go on this journey. I think we'll be able to mine some good conversation from it. Maybe help our audience and represent Jesus well as we discuss it. But yeah, we'll get into it. But before we get into that, we'll just our promotional stuff, this is a podcast that we're hoping to elevate our discussions, even elevate movies that we think are kind of crummy. The summer has had a few duds, but if you think our discussions are worth something, please like, share, subscribe, participate with us. You can rate and review, which would bump us up, and also if you want to become part of our Popcorn Theology team, donating just a few dollars a month will make you one of our patron saints. Right now, I think our patron saints are voting on a patriotic movie. Then you will send us on our quest for film and theology justice. And with that membership in Patreon, you get special perks like up-to-date screenings of In the Lobby podcasts and guiding our podcast, and a special patron saints group on Facebook where we can interact with you. And so with that, we'll drop our ads and our spoiler warning and get back to Supergirl.
Up in the sky, look! It's a bird! It's a plane!
Cinemagog, The Marvelous Era. James Harleman here, the cinema guy, announcing the sequel to my first book on film and faith. Let's face it, entertainment has changed dramatically since the first book published in 2012, and comic book characters and franchises are everywhere. So I decided to set my sights on superheroes and examine the evolution of Hollywood in this follow-up to the first Cinemagog book. For example, what does Loki tell us about culture's view of God? Why does the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the Infinity Saga continually align with biblical themes? In the Marvelous Era, I review each film and show not only how the individual movies express gospel parallels, but each phase essentially reveals a multi-point sermon. I also explore DC, Star Wars, the Monsterverse, and more. Without compromising scriptural truth, we can sift these stories and discover how we might reject, receive, and redeem ideas for personal reflection and Christian conversation. Also, has Hollywood's messaging gotten worse? The book explores ways these marvelous mythologies correspond with conversion, Christian living, church history, and Reformation, but I do also highlight what has been the entertainment industry's darker, indoctrinating decade, as well as toxic fandom and the dangers of immersion in pop culture that just might drown us spiritually if we're not careful. So suit up, assemble, and join me on a journey to the Infinity Saga and beyond. Cinemagog, The Marvel Us Era. Now available on Amazon.com in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle editions.
Hey, this is David, and if you're listening to Popcorn Theology, it's probably because you're interested in theology or movies, or best of all, both. And that means that you're our kind of people, sharing common interests with our listeners and viewers as well. So why not partner with us and advertise your business or ministry right here on Popcorn Theology? We're looking for great, like-minded sponsors and offer reasonable rates with a variety of formats to get your message out. Remember, our fans aren't mindless consumers, so they'll give you thoughtful consideration. That's a big part of what we're all about here. So for more information on advertising with us, contact feedback@popcorntheology.com.
And we're back. We're dropping the spoiler-free warning here as we dig deeper into Supergirl, and I am going to try to be a lot less negative Nancy here.
Yeah, so for a spoiler-free discussion, I thought there were a few bites, but again, I think Millie did fine in some of these. I didn't really think that she was a bad part of it, and the movie did try to hit vibes. I actually think that maybe somebody was on social media or something and wanting to get what people talk about vibes in this movie, because honestly, the scene where you have the Jimmy Eat World in the middle, the middle song.
Yep.
That song has always had a special place in my heart. I didn't actually love it when it first came out as a kid. It's not the type of music I listen to. But as I've gotten older, this song is just about encouraging somebody who is having a hard time growing up. And I thought, boy, if somebody had just listened to that song a bit and wrote the movie around those themes, this would have been great. Because when she's finally donning her Supergirl costume, saving Ruthie, kicking some butt, I was like, this did make me feel a bit inspired. It wasn't earned, so I wanted to spit it out of my mouth.
Yep.
It was a cool moment, though. And then I saw online that there were, they had a couple different cuts of this movie. There was going to be one cut where she was doing that fight scene, and it was girls just want to have fun. But
okay.
I thought, this is a little bit more touching.
It makes a lot more sense. I think the soundtrack was spot on, to be honest with you. And despite how I've already communicated about the movie, the the aesthetics, the setting, the idea of them going throughout space, the aliens, all of that was great. I think if the execution was better, it would have been great. But yeah, I mean, soundtrack, you're right on with Jimmy Eats World. That is my style of music. So
Yeah.
that was great. And Gunn does a really good job with soundtracks. I mean, you think of the Guardians of the Galaxy, like that is a phenomenal soundtrack. And most of those songs are as popular as they are because of those films.
But I heard somebody describe this movie. It's kind of like somebody plugged in James Gunn's better aspects of movies into AI and had it reproduce a movie.
Yeah.
To hit the beats. And I was like, that's kind of what it felt like.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
It's just like so strange because clearly there were aspects of the movie that there was a bunch of care into.
Mm-hmm.
But it felt disconnected, cliched, strange. The narratives, just unearned speeches.
Yeah.
It felt a little bit like watching Whedon's Justice League cut, where it's multiple minds trying to produce a single movie.
Yep.
It had these speeches about don't take revenge. It's gonna harm you, and you'll never be able to take it back. And I'm thinking, where's Supergirl getting this?
Where is that coming from?
Where's this coming from? And then Ruthie, on the other hand, I'm sorry. I told you I didn't want to be like you. You're not so nice, but you're good. And it's like, where are you getting this from?
Yep.
I was like, we've had time to develop this, but she's fighting for herself. She's trying to save her dog.
Well, and their only interaction with one another throughout the film is Kara telling her, stay
here, and
don't do anything. And then Ruthie not interacting with her verbally, but then showing up where she was told not to go. So that's their whole character interaction too. So it is very unearned. It lacks the hero's journey. And even if they're not trying to make her a hero, it lacks any journey. You watch this film and it's almost like, what was the point?
Yeah, what was the point? I asked myself, what's the message here? What's Supergirl's message? Be good, I guess, which was kind of like Superman, but Superman 2025 was about in a world of cynicism and skepticism and selfishness, it's punk rock to be good and wholesome and to be good for goodness sake.
Yep.
He's a superpowered Santa Claus kind of guy, and is it okay to be wholesome? And I know it's like you set this up so well to have Supergirl be the cynical person and be kind of converted to Superman's way of being. That's what I was hoping.
That's where I thought they were going. Yeah.
And this movie, her parents in flashbacks preach this message, but she's not living. Ironically, Superman was given a different message from his parents, but rejected it, by the end of Superman. Right. Man, it's just... The thing is that it could have been so good. I was like, you give me some of the same themes from Superman and explore them in a different way. Man, this could be good. But it just didn't really work. And interesting though, a lot of people were bashing this movie before it came out as, it's like woke and preachy. I was like, I didn't find it to be that at all. It just wasn't great.
No. Yeah. I didn't outright pick up on anything outside of the conversation Ruthie and Kara have with Superman and Supergirl. The name, it's like, so he's Superman, but you're Supergirl, and asking about the age thing, and it's like, it wasn't in your face. That was fine, like that you're doing that.
Yeah, and they always kind of bring it up. It's actually fine to explore those things. Again, if they had taken Jimmy Eat World's message, it might have been great. It's like she's a child again in a new world, discovering a new way of life, and Superman's helping her through that. Supergirl is kind of great for that. Girls make mistakes. Like there could have been so much, but they just
even a coming of age story of like, if you really wanted to, go all out with the girl aspect of it, it's like coming of age and her growing up. But even her growing up doesn't happen in the film. She stays the same throughout the entirety of the film.
And it's like I remember at the end of Superman when she shows up drunk and she's the reason why Krypto is a bad dog. I went, I don't like this. And I was like, there's hope. If she grows out of this, I want to see that story. But she kind of doesn't. She changes a tad. Another kind of woke thing is that the villains, the brigands, there's one little bit about, they're really mean and selfish, and they steal things, and they kill indiscriminately, but also they kidnap women for procreation because apparently they're an all-male species. And then the movie just doesn't revisit that.
Not at all.
Except for she gets to save a bunch of girls, which again is vibes.
Yep.
Is the Supergirl overthrows the chauvinistic, rapacious man. I was like, okay, well that's good vibes, but you didn't do anything with that.
You didn't connect the dots there. Yeah.
And apparently that was not like that in the comics. These bad guys.
No, and even it's something to be said with just how the culture's viewing men in general. When you're looking at the brigands in this, it's like their whole purpose in this is they're the bad men who only want to procreate. They're stealing women. They're not allowing women to live up to their fullest potential, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So men are the problem. But even with that as like the big driving force, I don't even know if it's a driving force, but that being the plot, they didn't do much with it.
And they didn't answer it with another philosophy.
No, they didn't.
Right, so they presented it as a problem, but what's the solution? Well, Supergirl's really strong. The sun is going to shine, and she's going to beat him up.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yep.
You know?
Got it. Nailed it.
And to talk about a thing that kind of frustrates me is I kept thinking, why not have Supergirl choose between saving Ruthie and saving Krypto at some point?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would have been a heroic choice. Why not have Supergirl see that, like, Lobo was taking Ruthie under her wing? Why not contrast these two?
Yeah.
Why not have Supergirl realizing, okay, if I'm hands off, with great power comes great responsibility. If I'm hands off with my power, then little girls like Ruthie are going to go down the path of Lobo. Why not have that story? They even set it up with them two in the jail.
They did. Yep.
Right? Which, again, was another crazy thing. Ruthie, she's this innocent 12-year-old girl who's not particularly great in a fight, but though she's standing up for justice, she's got like a True Grit storyline you had there.
Yep.
And Supergirl's kind of like Cog... Oh, was it? Is it Cog? I forget what he was called. Is it Cogburn? What am I thinking? Anyway, I should watch True Grit again. I looked it up before this. But you had this story where she's like the girl in True Grit, trying to get justice in a world that's chaotic. And then that just kind of fell flat.
Yeah.
But then you had the scene where Ruthie takes on this huge guy and chokes him out. And it's like, Lobo hasn't even broken out yet. Oh, okay. And they even set up in the scene, there's poison on the tips of these cells. I was
The
like,
spikes, yeah.
The spikes.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, here's what Ruthie's going to do. She's going to scrape off some of that poison. While the guy tries to handcuff her or something, he's going to scratch her with the poison. He's going to fall over. And this smart girl is going to navigate the situation with cleverness. No, she gets handcuffed and jumps over him and chokes
Brute
him
force,
out.
yeah.
And I was like, you had such great opportunities to show her to being clever and cunning. And then you could have had Supergirl fighting effectively for the heart of Ruthie. If you wanted to do the whole you shouldn't take revenge thing. You know, well,
that's where you have themes that they just could not anchor down,
Yeah.
right? Home, goodness, vengeance, three big themes throughout the film that they just did not anchor down on. And so it's almost as if they were trying to tell three different stories and just could not land on how do these three different stories create one cohesive narrative. Well, it's even thinking through like Lobo's only in here for fan service. You could remove Lobo from the entirety of the movie and it will not change the outcome of the movie.
Yeah.
We don't know why Supergirl, when she first sees Lobo, why she's like, oh, don't go talk to him. Outside of what reputation he has, like we don't know if they've had any interaction with each other, any of that. But even still, like Lobo does nothing to contribute to the plot. There was that jail cell scene where Ruthie gets out and then lets him out, and then that's a perfect opportunity of like she's pursuing vengeance. This guy doesn't care about anything, and yet she just escapes through the ventilation system, and he goes about his own way.
So it could have been Lobo presents nihilism.
Yep.
Or Lobo presents, yeah, kid, give in to your vengeance. Look at me. I'm awesome. but instead they just drop it there, and I was like, this. I thought that it was about to turn great.
Yep. Like, oh, finally, they're
And he
gonna
looked
utilize
cool.
this character. Yeah.
He played it well. The glowing cigar, vibes is what I'm like. This was cool, and it just.
Well, honestly, the best part about this movie was the flashbacks. The flashbacks of Supergirl brought the most personal aspect of the film into reality. Now, I think it is interesting. You pointed out in Superman, Superman's parents essentially tell him, "You're going to be a god here. Own it, become that kind of thing." As to where Kara's parents are like, "Be good," and it's a complete opposite of, the entire intention of the parents. But everything Supergirl's parents are doing is built off of what Clark's parents did, which is interesting. Yeah. They seem to be at odds with each other. But I'll tell you, if I were to be Jam, the director of this film, if I were to produce it, put it together, direct this film, it should have started out with the flashbacks. They should have kicked you into all of these flashbacks that are telling you about the fall of Krypton, about her coming to Earth, about her meeting Superman, about her disconnect between Krypton and home. Like, that is how they should have started out the film. And then they should have flashed forward to the scene where she's telling Ruthie about it in the jail cell. That, not in the jail cell, but wherever they were hiding out. Because then at that point, you've got the personal aspect of her character, and then you got this little girl. And then that little girl could then explain, we're going after my parents, and this is why we need to go after my parents' killer, and that kind of thing. I think that would have given you more brevity to the storyline if you started out that way. But the way they start out this film is just this drunken mess where she's going from star system to star system, and we don't even know why she's on a red planet. And well, she tells you because she can get drunk. It's the dumbest.
Yeah, but the thing is, she wants to get drunk. But when I was retelling, my little boy was asking me, "Tell me about this movie," and I said, "Well, she's on these red planets because." I didn't want to tell him she's getting drunk, but I was just saying so that she doesn't have to have the powers and have the responsibility of caring for people. And then my wife and my son were like, well, that sounds like Spider Noir, which we just talked about a little bit. I said, yeah, you know what? You guys are right. That would have been a good theme to explore, is that she's emotionally hurt. She doesn't have a family. She doesn't have a connection to Earth. So why should I strenuously work to be good when I don't have a family here? I don't have a connection here. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Or she's running away from the pain. I remember a counseling professor in college or in seminary was talking about, she said, that emotional pain and physical pain light up the same centers of the brain. So no wonder people take drugs to deal with emotional pain.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, that's great. And I think, did you mention this before? It was really neat having her go from different planets where she has different powers. Like, one reason why I like the fights is that it wasn't just every scene she's using her Superman strength and just destroying all the bad guys. The scene where she's fighting the female pirates who have the teleportation tech, that was fun. Like, and she does something a little bit sacrificial by trying to go out the airlock to get to the sunlight and to save the day. That was fun. It was okay, but there still could have been more there.
I think that was a good scene. That's a good that scene's a good scene. It's not the Blur. I'm with you in regards to her going from planet to planet and kind of regaining some of her powers as she's going. I think that was a great aspect, right? Part of the challenge I think you have with Superman in general, from comic books to filmmaking, is this absolute powerhouse. He's untouchable. So even I'll tell you, the end of the movie, when she's on the planet with the two suns, and you got the green sun and the yellow sun, it's like, oh, that is brilliant. So she's poisoned, she's dying, because of the green sun, and it's like, oh, so how is she going to get out of this? It felt like there were stakes actually in play, and it wasn't just that the villain somehow miraculously had access to all the supplies of kryptonite. But then the yellow sun rises and the brigands have kryptonite. And it's like, you have squandered what you set up that made her journey or her having to overcome something interesting. because now you've just given the brigands her weakness again.
And like, what if you had Yellow Sun and Green Sun to differing levels, to where she has powers, but she can be cut by weapons, or she has to choose simultaneously to have her powers where she can hear all the cries of everybody, but she's vulnerable at the same time, and she chooses to stay there to save Ruthie, even though she could die, or she's tired of her powers. Like, that's the thing that was so frustrating about this movie, is that the ingredients were there for a bunch of different good stories.
Yep.
And then the moments just didn't feel earned, which we've said that over and over again. Like she kills Krem at the end. How did you feel about that? Did you feel bad or good, or I was kind of okay with it?
I think him dying is great. Like,
yeah, but he
him
deserved
as
to die.
a character, he deserved to die. Like, yeah, what he's doing is awful, right? Why she refused to let Ruthie be the one to enact vengeance, we've never been given a reason in the film. And so even that whole interaction she has where she's like, you can't do this, and you'll carry him with you all the time, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I like the concept and the content there, but it's out of nowhere. We have no reason to believe what she's saying as we're watching the film.
No
but
experience
then
of it? Yeah.
Nothing. There's no vengeance storyline for her.
And it's Christian morality.
Yes.
Christians introduced to the world not taking vengeance on your enemies. And I thought, okay, good, you got a good landing spot there, but there's no why, there's no grounding there. Now, this discussion, I was actually okay with her killing Krem, because apparently there's no just authorities to take him to.
That's what it seems like, right? It's just lawlessness all across the galaxy.
And so, like, for me, I go, okay, well, one thing that's great about a good and just society is that people who deserve to die can be put to death by an impartial third party, if things go well, right? Mm-hmm. That way, I'm not taking revenge. Justice is done. They receive the due penalty. Society is protected. It's a good half solution in a world in which we can't make everybody repent,
Yeah.
And so she kills him. But here's where I think maybe they're going, or it's where I wish the movie went, is that there's this conversation about the lightness of your heart. I think I jumped ahead. I was going to let you do your point, but this conversation about what makes somebody do good, right? What makes somebody do good? And the movie could have been about Supergirl trying to spare Ruthie from the weight of having to do the hard things in life. It could have been, instead of like, revenge is bad, be good, it could have been, I'm an older girl who's in the middle trying to protect a younger girl from being corrupted by the world. And stopping her from taking the vengeance, I will do the hard thing and embrace the muck and the dirt of the world. Because a key line that was in the trailers in the movie is this. She's talking about Superman. She says, he sees the good in everyone. I see the truth. She calls Clark, she says, he's young at heart. He's young. Well, he's older than her. So what does she mean by that? It means it's kind of metaphorical. He says his heart is light. And then she goes into her flashbacks, which are a good part of the movie, right? Mm-hmm. But her flashbacks seem to be saying, I've experienced so much loss and pain that I see the truth in people. And the implication is that Clark, that he does good just because he's innocent, hasn't experienced bad things. And there's contrast between Kara and Clark. She goes, Krypton didn't die in a day. The gods aren't that kind. And so it suggests, well, okay, what makes somebody lighthearted or good-hearted? It's they haven't been touched by evil. And you go, well, okay, is that true?
It's naivety, right?
It's that naivety makes you good. Oh, that's a terrible message. Is that to be mature is to not be good for goodness sake. And but the thing is if they treated her as a girl who's growing and maturing, that's okay to have somebody have in the middle. That's Simba's stage of Hakuna Matata.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But where's the growth, right? They didn't put it in the middle of the movie. They put it in the end. And what I was just thinking is Kara needs Jesus.
Yeah.
Right? She has a heavy heart. That's why she's drinking. And so it made me think of Matthew 11. Jesus says, come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart. and you will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. I would just say, Kara, you need Jesus. Jesus looks squarely in the face of the evil in the world. He experienced it on the cross, and he chose to give people blessing and love instead of evil in return. So it's not because of naivety, it's because of the choice to do good, and in the Christian sense, it's the choice to connect to God, who's a loving Father who gives you his Holy Spirit to do these things. And so, whereas Superman said, be good for goodness sake, and we said, where's the God in that story? Because you need something. This movie says, be good. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, and the thought process that in order to be good, you must be naive. It spits in the face of Jesus himself, who lived a life you and I could never live. And it's not because he was naive, right? He knows all things. He knows the great suffering, right? We have a great high priest who is able to sympathize us with our weaknesses, right? He was tried in all ways in which we were, and yet he is without sin. So it's not because he's naive. He's aware of our suffering. He steps into our suffering. He lives throughout our suffering, and then he suffers on our behalf. And so even that to be good is to be naive. It's just the problem with the film, and this our 2 points just kind of piggyback off each other, right? The problem with the film is they fail to define terms, and so goodness. I thought it was going to be home when they started. I thought home was going to be the big thing that they were hitting on, and they seem to try to end on it with her coming to this point of like, okay, Earth is going to be my home, right?
Yeah.
But we have no real sense of why that's going to be the case. More than home, the big theme of the movie, I think, is being good. And you have Mom telling Kara that when she dies, Kara needs to be good. And the definition is then not the absence of toughness and not being nice, but rather just be good. It's just a vague, general, be good.
There's another definition in there that kind of fit, or at least a command, is to, when you have power, take care of the people who don't have power.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you go, okay, there's some of that great power comes great responsibility thing.
Yep.
But they didn't tie any of the wise teaching of their parents particularly well to a choice that Kara had to make.
Yeah, she didn't have any real choice in it, right? So, I mean, the movie starts with Kara defining good as saving Krypto and rejecting helping a girl who has lost her family. And so first stop there is like, okay, so the scale of goodness is helping an animal versus helping a human being. And that's culturally telling. I used to work at Starbucks, and when I used to work at Starbucks, I had baristas all the time. We'd have dogs come through the window, and they would say all the time, "I would die for you." And it's like, I would get so frustrated with that, not because I hate animals, but because their values were animals are far more significant than humans.
Yeah.
And that came out in many different kinds of conversations.
And in this movie, it's just think about the contrast between Supergirl and Superman. In this movie, she's trying to save her dog.
Right.
She's built this affection with.
It's for her.
In Superman, he's trying to save Krypto. In the whole movie, you think it's his dog until you realize he was willing to give his life for somebody else's dog. And he's not even a good dog, but he's out there and alone.
Yep.
And there's like a subtle but important difference there, because a lot of times we want to save our dogs because they love us so much and we love them. Krypto didn't love Clark, and he was willing to die for him.
Yep.
And so I was like, this is why I think Superman, even with some of its flaws, worked really well.
Yes.
Supergirl fell with these.
It flops.
But if she had been able to say, I'm willing to risk Krypto for the sake of Ruthie, that would have been a moment.
Stakes are much higher. Yeah. Well, and there's the beautiful, there's one scene in particular where I'm watching and I'm like, oh, this is great. Like, she flies out of the planet. She had just gotten into the conflict with Ruthie. Ruthie wasn't able to kill the head brigand.
Yeah.
And
Krem. Yeah.
Krem. Yeah. And they get in that fight, and she tells Ruthie, go do it yourself, and I'm gonna go get the antidote for Crypto. And she flies out, and it's silent, and she's screaming, and you can't hear her. And I'm just thinking, man, the silence is deafening. Like, that was a beautiful moment within the scene. But even that moment, it's not really her wrestling with what's good. It's her coming to terms with, Ruthie defines good as being recovering vengeance, where you have Kara still defining good as, I've got to go save my dog. And so they're at odds with each other because they don't have a definite objective reality that is good. Albeit, like, they know what the brigands are doing. They know that they're stealing girls. They know that they're taking them from families. They just witnessed all of that. And none of that is actually driving either of these characters to do anything.
Like, what if
It's
Ruthie
all
had to choose?
self-motivated.
Yeah, it's self. It's like what Captain America criticizes Iron Man for. You always fighting for yourself.
Yep.
Whereas, what if Ruthie had an opportunity to kill Krem, and instead she saves the girls?
Yep. It'd be so
You
much
could have had
better.
that. It didn't even need to be Supergirl's choice. And so, it's so frustrating because
You'd have a clear line of goodness there if something like that happened, right? Because you'd have choice. But ultimately, the film fails to define terms, and its two major themes, home or goodness, they end up leaving the viewer scratching their heads with, like, well, what is home and what is good? To which I would say our theology aspect of this, we have to look at the scriptures to say, what is good? What is objectively good? Because they're throwing it around, and we have to know what is objectively good. And so you've got, Psalm 34, oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blesses the man who takes refuge in him. And then you have John 3:19. And this is the judgment, that light has come into the world, and people love the darkness rather than the light because their works are evil. Or you have, goodness, 1 Chronicles 16:34. Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his steadfast love endures forever. Romans 7:12. So the law is holy, and the commandment is holy, and righteous and good. Ultimately, what is the objective standard for good? It's God. God has defined for every human being what is good. And so it's like, is it good to save an animal who is hurting? Yes, but why? Ultimately, because God has made all things, and all things are good, and he has even made animals. And so we should steward animals well and care for animals well. Yeah. It's the same with, is it good for wicked, vile men and women to find justice? Yes.
Yeah.
And God, in his goodness, has given us governments and ruling authorities in which his goodness can be enacted. And so he gives, the sword to our governments. Ultimately, the film has a God-shaped hole with many themes that it cannot seem to actually find a landing pad for, because it wants to remove God from the equation and then just give you a vague definition, if even that, a vague idea of just be good. And the whole time you're left thinking to yourself, what is good? Because with the subjective stance of the film, it's good for a little girl to enact vengeance. It's good for what should be a hero to only care about herself and her dog and not the little girl. And it's good for both of these individuals to have no care in the world about the girls who are being captured and enslaved and those kinds of things, and these men who are running rampant throughout the galaxy.
And what does Krem think is good? What does Lobo think is good? And why do you disagree? Apparently there was another cut of this movie that was about 10 minutes longer that scored like 2 or 3 points less in screenings that talked more about Krem. Think about Krem's idea. He's mean, but he's clever in some points. He can create clever devices, and maybe he's the savior of his people because he's capturing women to perpetuate his species.
Yep.
Right? Maybe he's bad because he's capturing women and apparently violating them. That whole thing was just gone. It was just empty in the plot. And so the value of a movie like this is that it should, at the end of the day, when you're confused about their choices, when it doesn't sit well with you, you go, why am I frustrated with their ideas of good? Why am I frustrated with their ideas of heroism and friendship? Why doesn't it seem to connect? And it's because movies are supposed to remind us of the grand story, of the greatest story ever told, of what people are supposed to be. And Supergirl had an opportunity to to offer up what is a good girl, a good heroic girl, and it stuck with the vibes of drinking.
Just figure it out. Yeah.
And at least I like my dog floating aimlessly in the world. And I thought maybe the movie would be something akin to our discipleship process too, with Superman giving her a worldview that is good, even though his isn't really particularly grounded, but it's kind of North Star for her.
Yep.
And then you could have had her struggling with the fact that she's experienced all these things, that she's not Superman, she didn't grow up on Earth, and now she's trying to figure out what good looks like there. You could have had fun back and forth, because I like Clark in these where he doesn't have all the answers. I kind of prefer Christopher Reeves, but I like what they're doing with him, where he's just trying to figure it out, and he's wholesome. And what does it look like when a girl who's experienced some real pain, some real vulnerability, is invited to have a lofty kingdom of God-like ethic? What is... And so, raises questions. Go ahead, I cut you off too many times.
Well, no, you're good, man. It's almost nihilism of like, what is the point? What does any of this matter? That's almost what is presented in the film. When we fail to have objective reality as our standard, what is objectively good? When we fail to have that, you come to a point with a film like this, and I think this is where most of my frustration comes in, where you're just like, what is the point? What's the point in this entire movie? What's the point in any of their journey? What's the point in their characters? And what's the point? And it's because we're abandoning objective reality for subjectivism. So you can define what you want to define as good, and so on and so forth. And ultimately, I think it becomes frustrating because, and you're hitting at it, all stories, even this one, some way, somehow, is retelling truths. But this story in particular becomes frustrating, I think, for the Christian, because you're watching it and you're thinking, well, this is just a mirror very, very dimly lit. There are some glimpses in here that we're having to pick and kind of parse through, but it's very dimly lit. And so I think it becomes frustrating because you're watching this and it's telling us of our culture right now and where our world is right now. And it's almost, you're looking into the reality of our world right now when we've abandoned objective truth and reality and God, who has made all of those things, and we're just kind of leaving, it's Descartes, right? Truth is in the eye of the beholder. And it's like, that's kind of what this movie is getting at.
And so as a Christian, looking at Supergirl reminds me of what it's like to talk to non-believers sometimes. So we're often talking about all people are sinners and that they don't do what's good. And the world will respond with, no, that's not right. I want to be good. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like her, where I'm floating out in the world, trying to do my best to ease the pain of my soul and to do good. I'm a good person. I want to do good. But my response is, but you don't do it. Mm-hmm. I don't do it. And so what is this thing that we're after? And a movie that shares a bad definition of good reminds me of the stress and the struggle of talking to people who want to be good in some sense or be perceived as good, but they don't have the ability to carry it out, or they don't have the definition. And so watching her is kind of like sometimes what I feel when I'm talking to people who don't get what I'm doing when I'm trying to preach the gospel to them.
Yeah.
And so, with me, that's somewhat fruitful. It's kind of cathartic to talk about this movie with you. I think we can pretty much wind this down. If we've got some lightning round, don't drop some lightning for us.
I got a couple for you, man. So
go for it.
First things first, we should reject drunkenness. It's celebrated in this. And it's almost like they try to make a joke out of it and make it a big thing. We should just reject drunkenness. You do not need substances in order to feel, nor do you need substances in order to work through what you're going through. And so that would be the first thing. The second thing would be we need to reject the idea that animals are more valuable than humans. That's her entire motivating drive, is Crypto is more valuable than this little girl. She should have just helped the little girl. Because the little girl needed help versus now Crypto's poison, so on. In a more positive spin, I will say we can redeem the idea of striving to be good. And so while they fail to define goodness, I think the film is getting at this idea of people genuinely want to be good. And I think that's the truth. Like you deal with non-Christians all the time, and they're always trying to, here's my goodness, here's my righteousness, those kinds of things. In a salvific way, those won't save you, and we don't do the good that we ought to do or we want to do. But I don't think it's wrong for us to say, no, you should strive to be good. You should strive to do good things. We can receive this even if the film doesn't define it. And so while being morally upright, it's not going to gain you entrance into the kingdom. The scriptures do teach that following the rules and the statutes of the Lord is ultimately for human flourishing. And so you even just think about your moral 10, right?
Yeah.
Your big 10. It's like those are actually all for human flourishing, all 10 of those. And if we can get the 10 commandments down, even in the simplistic terms, those 10 commandments are actually for the benefit of humanity. And so there's a way that is upright and good and beneficial for humanity to live. And God has made it known to us. And so we should strive for goodness.
Yeah, amen to that. That's one thing I like about these modern Superman movies, Supergirl, is that it is inviting the audience to ask themselves, what is good and am I doing it? Mm-hmm. And when it's hard, am I going to do it? Whether they tell the story well, like they did last summer, or poorly, like they did this summer.
Yep.
We were not meant just to be saved. We were meant to build God's kingdom, to be his imagers, to spread, to rule over the animals that we do have charge over with justice. When we have more strength than others, use that with justice and righteousness. And so, good attempt with those themes, but boy, here's the thing. I'm just real sad is that I love superhero movies. I would watch them month after month, and it's sad for me when they miss the mark because people are not going to see it, and there's not going to be more of them. I was rooting for you.
Yep.
And I could watch the David Cornsweet Superman do things all the time. I like that guy, trying to be wholesome. He makes me want to be a better man. Yep. I'm not sure what Supergirl made me want to be. I hope it inspired somebody to consider what is good and step up and hopefully find somebody like a Clark in your life, perhaps maybe a Jesus Christ, please, to look up to, adopt his way of being, and be good for goodness sake.
Yeah.
But, Jam, thank you for going down this road with me. I remember when I invited you, I said, I need somebody to go to Popcorn Theology Battle with me. It's not great, but I need somebody to sign up. And you took the call.
Glad to be here, man.
All right. To all of you guys who took the call and have been this far with us, keep engaging media and movies from a godly worldview. And remember, you are not a mindless consumer.
Thanks for watching this episode of Popcorn Theology. For more content, subscribe on YouTube. Follow and interact on social media to help broaden the conversation. Check out our archive of past episodes at popcorntheology.com or wherever you listen to podcasts, and consider becoming a patron saint by supporting us on Patreon, which lets you interact, influence, and enjoy exclusive bonus content.